So this video is for integrated one. This is our homework on domain, range, and function. And just a quick little reminder, domain are your x's. You want to think what is the furthest left and furthest right that a graph goes. Your range is your y's. You want to think what is the lowest and the highest that a graph goes. And then we're also going to talk about whether something is a function. And remember, if something is a function, each x goes to only one y. I cannot have an x go to two different y's. And we use something called the vertical line test to determine if it's a graph, whether or not it's a function. Okay, and that vertical line must touch graph at only one point. Okay. So when I'm going to do this, I am going to make a vertical line for two things, for my domain and range. And I know you're probably thinking, well, why are you doing that for domain? Because I want to look across the graph. Okay, so I'm going to make a vertical line that I'm going to be using for my domain, make it a little longer, and I'm going to do a horizontal line that I'll be looking at for my range. So on this first graph, if I'm trying to decide if something is a function, I'm going to scan across, and as I'm moving this, here I'm checking x's being 5, and I see it only has one output. Here I'm checking x's being 4. As I'm moving, I'm checking all the x values in between 3 and 4, and between 3 and 2, and I'm checking all of the x values, and everywhere I move, you see that I only hit the graph once. So each of these x's has one output. So that means it's a function. Now, I'm also going to be looking, well, what is the furthest to the left the graph goes? Now, since there's an arrow, this graph is going to go down, but it's also going to go to the left. So it's going to go to the left forever and ever. It doesn't stop here because the arrow stops here. The arrow means it keeps going forever and ever to negative infinity. And as I go to the right, it is going to stop at this point here, which is 5. Okay, so it's going to go from negative infinity up to 5. So I am going to write open bracket negative infinity to 5 close bracket. If I'm going to do it as an inequality, I'm going to say x is less than or equal to 5. That's how I would write it. Also, if I was deciding if this is a function or not, I saw that this is a function. Now, if I'm going to talk about my range, I am going to be using this line, and I want to see, well, what's the lowest this graph goes? The lowest this graph goes, it doesn't stop here at -5. That arrow means it keeps going to negative infinity. And the highest it's going to go is at this height of 2. So negative infinity up to 2. So negative infinity to 2, close bracket. And I could also say that that's going to be y is less than or equal to 2. Now on the next graph, let me kind of zoom in a little bit. So if I'm looking at my domain, I want to see what is the furthest to the left the graph goes, which is right here at -5. But there's an open circle there. So it's going to go up to, but not include -5. where over here, it did include that 5 because it was a solid dot. So in this one, it's going to stop at -5, but not include it. So it's going to go from -5, not including -5, to -2. From -5 to -2. That's going to be my domain. And as I move this across, you see everywhere it only touches one spot. So it is going to be a function. So it is a function, and then it's going to be open bracket because it does not include -5 to -2, also open bracket. If I'm going to do this as an inequality, I go -5 strictly less than x less than -2. Okay, I would not have the equals on it. Now, if I'm looking at my range, the lowest this graph goes is -4, but again, it's open circle, so it doesn't include -4. And the highest it goes is +4, but again, it doesn't include that. So from -4 to 4, but not including -4, not including 4. So I'm going to go open bracket, -4 to 4. And if I'm doing it as an inequality, -4 less than y less than 4. On the next one, if I'm looking at domain, I'm looking to the furthest left, which is going to come all the way to here, and it's going to stop, but not include -4 because of the open circle. And it's going to keep going to the right forever and ever and ever. It doesn't stop right here because of that arrow. It's going to keep going to positive infinity. So from -4, not including -4, to positive infinity. And as I move this across, you see it only touches everywhere at one spot. So it is going to be a function. I'm just going to move this over here. Okay, so it is going to be a function. And it's going to be open bracket -4 to infinity. Infinity is also an open bracket because you never reach infinity. And if I'm writing it as an inequality, I'm going to say x is greater than, strictly greater than, -4. And if I'm looking at my range, the lowest the graph goes is to -1, but again, it doesn't include -1. And then it's going to go forever to positive infinity. So I'm going to have open bracket, -1 to infinity, but again, it doesn't include infinity, can't reach infinity. And that's going to be y is greater than -1. Okay, let's look at the next three. So on number 4, if I take this and I move it across the graph, let me just get it down a little lower. Okay, and I move it across the graph. Now, the furthest that this graph goes, at first it might look like it stops here at -2, but if you look at the top, if you look up here, let me just kind of get, I'll do it in this purple. You see that this does continue going. Okay, so yeah, it stopped here at this portion, but the top continued going. Okay, so what's going to happen when I take this across my graph, again to the left, it looks at first like it stops here at -2, but you see the top part of the graph keeps going forever and ever and ever and ever to -infinity. And as I move it across, it's going to come until it hits right here at 3. And it does touch at 3. It will have a closed bracket at 3. Okay. And as I'm going across, you also see there's a lot of spots where that line is crossing the graph at 2 spots. So this is not going to be a function. So this is going to go from -infinity up to 3 with a closed bracket. And that would be x is less than or equal to 3. And we saw that this one is not a function. And then if I'm looking at my range, the highest the graph goes and lowest the graph goes, well, the lowest the graph goes is going to be here at -2. It does stop here, okay? And that is going to be included. And then as I go up, the arrow here, not only is it going to the left, but as it goes to the left, it's also going up. So it's going to be to positive infinity, from -2 to positive infinity. So it's going to be close bracket, -2 to infinity, open bracket. So that's going to be y is greater than or equal to -2. On the next one, for my domain, as I'm going across this, you see that everywhere it touches at only one spot, so it will be a function. But the furthest to the left is going to go is -4, but not include it. Furthest to the right is going to be 3. Not include -4, it will include 3. So I am going to write that as open bracket -4 to 3 close bracket. As an inequality, it would be -4 less than x less than or equal to 3. And this one we saw was a function. Now, looking at my range, so my range, the lowest this graph is going to go, it looks like it stops here at 2, but it does keep going. So the lowest it goes is right here at -5, but it's not going to include -5. And the highest it's going to go is 2. -5 not included, 2 included. So open bracket -5 to 2 close bracket, -5 less than y less than or equal to 2. On the next one, if I'm looking at the domain, as I take this across, you see it's going to go to the right forever, so that's going to be infinity. And as I'm moving across, it only touches at one spot. And the furthest to the left it's going to go is -4. So from -4 to infinity. So this is going to be square bracket, -4 to infinity, open bracket. So that would be -4 less than or equal to x. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. It's going to be x greater than or equal to -4. And for my range, oh, and we had decided that this one was going to be a function. For the range, when I go the furthest down, it's going to be at 0. And then it's going to keep going up forever and ever and ever to infinity. So it's going to go from 0 to infinity, or y is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, let's look at the next 3. So on the next one, as I'm looking at domain, the furthest to the left that this graph goes is going to be -5. The furthest to the right it goes is 4. And I am not noticing that this is going to touch anywhere more than once, except for right here. So actually right here, this looks like this would make it not be a function, because it does look like it has more than one value right here. Okay. So I'm going to say that this is close bracket -5 to 4 close bracket, -5 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 4, and not a function. Now, when I am looking for my range, the lowest this graph goes is -3, The highest this graph goes, it looks like it goes to, let's say that that is 3. Okay, so from -3 to 3. So this is going to be from -3 to 3, close bracket. And so that's going to be -3 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 3. You don't have to give me both of these. I'm just running both of them in case you prefer one or the other. Okay, on the next one, when I'm looking at domain, the furthest to the left is going to be -infinity. The furthest to the right is going to be 3. And right here, it looks like this is going to have more than one value right here at -2. So this one is not going to be a function. So I'm going to say not a function. And it's going to go from -infinity to, I think I said 3. I meant 0 because as I'm moving this across, this is going to go forever and ever to -infinity, and it's going to stop here at 0. So it's going to be 0 with a square bracket, or x is less than or equal to 0. Now for my range, the lowest this graph is going to go is -3, and then it's going to go forever up. So -3 to infinity. So close bracket -3 to infinity open bracket, or y is greater than or equal to -3. Okay, so the next one for my domain, it's going to keep going forever and ever to -infinity and positive infinity, and it is not going to cross more than once, so it is going to be a function. So this is going to be from -infinity to infinity, or basically all real numbers, and this is going to be a function. For my range, it looks like this is going to go, it's going down, but it is going to go, so it's going to out, but it's also going to be going down forever. And here, as it's going up, it is going to be going forever out. So since it's going to go up forever and down forever, that's going to be -infinity to infinity, both open brackets or all real numbers. Okay, let's take a peek at the next page. So on number 10, as I am trying to find my domain, you'll notice that there are arrows at both ends. So this is going to go to -infinity to the left and positive infinity to the right, and nowhere is it going to cross more than one spot. So we are going to have -infinity to infinity, or all real numbers, and it is going to be a function. Now, my range is going to be the same. So when I take this, it's going to go forever down to -infinity and forever up to positive infinity. So I'm also going to have -infinity to infinity, both open brackets, or all real numbers. Now on number 11, for this one, as I go across, this graph is going to be a function because it's not going to touch anywhere. And as I go to the left, the arrows are going up and left. So it's going to go to -infinity to the left, positive infinity to the right, and it is going to be a function. So it's going to go from -infinity to infinity, or all real numbers, and it is a function. And when I'm looking at the range, so the lowest this is going to go is to here at -4, and it's going to go forever and ever up. It actually touches at -4, so this is going to be closed, and then to infinity, which is going to be open bracket. So I'm going to have close bracket -4 to infinity open bracket, or y is greater than or equal to -4. Now on number 12, if I get my vertical line here and I move it across the graph, you can see it's definitely not going to be a function. And same with this one here, this circle is also not going to be a function. This is going to go to the left. The furthest is -3 and then to positive infinity. So I'm going to have from -3 to infinity, or x is greater than or equal to -3. And this one is not a function. And let me circle this one over here, also not a function. Then when I'm looking at my range, these arrows are going to the right, but also down. So this is going to go to -infinity. And this is going to the right, but also going up. So that's going to go to positive infinity, from -infinity to positive infinity. So -infinity to positive infinity, both open brackets, all real numbers. Now for this one, for domain, we decided already that this is not going to be a function because when it crosses this graph, this circle, it's going to touch at more than one spot. Now, as I go across this graph, the furthest it's going to go is to -2. The furthest to the right is 6. So it's going to go from -2 to 6. And it's going to include -2 and include 6. And let me just move this line for a second. So when I write that out in inequality, that would be -2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 6. Now my range, the lowest this graph is going to go is -6. The highest this graph is going to go is 2. So it's going to go from -6 to 2. So close bracket -6 to 2 close bracket, or -6 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 2. Okay, last two. Now these ones are looking a little different. So on number 14, if I take this vertical line and I move it across the graph, you can see it's going to be a function. Okay. It's going to keep going forever to -infinity. It's going to keep going forever to positive infinity. So this is going to be -infinity to positive infinity, or all real numbers, and it is going to be a function. Now for my range, as I move this line up and down, the only height at all that I'm going to have graph is right here at -2. I don't have any graph above. I don't have any graph below, only at -2. So my domain is really going to be just -2. And sometimes we'll do it in a set notation. So on the next one, if I'm trying to decide if this is a function or not, as I move this across, I have 3 points here. These 3 points all go through that line, not a function. And the furthest to the left or to the right, the only place I'm going to have graph is right here at -3. So my domain is going to be just -3. Okay, or if you want to say the set, -3. And we saw that this is not a function. When I'm talking about the range, I am going to have separate values. I don't have from here to here because I don't have graph in between. So I'm going to have value at -4, value at 0, value at 4. So my range is going to consist of -4, 0, and 4. So it's going to be the set -4, 0, and 4, not from -4 to 4. Hopefully this helps you out.